Welcome to week one of SME. I really appreciate you joining me tonight. I am Christy Foley. I am your course director for this class. And just to give you a little bit of background information about myself, I'm actually a former broadcaster. I actually worked for NBC Olympics and ESPN for a while. I grew up figure skating, and that knowledge came in handy when it came to broadcasting figure skating events. And I did a good bit of news broadcasting as well, working on the early Today Show and the local news stations in Boston and New York as well. So I have a good bit of journalism background, both on the sports and news side. And my passion is figure skating and traveling and reading a good bit. But I'm actually a lawyer now. So after doing a little bit of time in the broadcasting world, I decided to go to law school. And I do have my own firm here in the Central Florida area where I do intellectual property and contract work, and I also mediate disputes too. So I love teaching, and so if you ever reach me, please don't hesitate to contact me. You're welcome to either email me, message me on FSO, or call my cell phone number, whatever is most convenient for you. And if for any reason you do call me and I don't answer, just please leave me a voicemail and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. A few things to know about this class. Number one, take a look at the course at a glance. That's going to really help you plan out each week to make sure that you stay on track with all of our assignments. Also, please keep in mind that you need to have reliable sources for all of your assignments, discussion boards and publications and papers that you're writing throughout the month. All of those need to have reliable sources like you learned about in your research and investigative skills development class. So whether you're using hyperlinks to your sources or APA citation format, different assignments call for different citation formats. You'll want to make sure that you're citing reputable sources and that you're citing enough sources as well. You want to be, making sure that you're supporting the outside statements that you're making. So if you mention a statistic or a certain place, provide a hyperlink to the source of that statistic or the official website for that place. Also, deadlines are extremely important. So I did mention that I worked in broadcast journalism, and I have seen 2 people be fired because they were 30 seconds or less late. So I will tell you, since Full Sail is meant to provide you with a real world education, I do hold you to strict deadline requirements. So if you're used to submitting assignments at 3 a.m. and not getting pinged on a late point deduction from other professors who are being generous, please know that I am not that generous. And it's not because I'm trying to be super mean, it's just because you're really close to graduation and I need to give you a sense of what the real world is like out there. And unfortunately, the real world can be very strict on deadlines, particularly in this digital age. So please be very careful to meet all your deadlines. Honestly, that's probably the #1 reason that someone does not pass the class, because they miss probably 2 or 3 deadlines, if not more. So please be careful about that. And if you have anything crazy going on in your life that you think you deserve an extension for, all you have to do is reach out to me, call me, email me, message me on FSO. Let me know what's going on before the assignment deadline hits, and we can talk about whether you get an extension and how long that extension can be. Also, please remember that the assignment instructions that you'll see for each of the publications that you're writing in this class, the articles that you're publishing to your website, require you to report from a third-person perspective. So I shouldn't see any, I interviewed so-and-so, or we thought this when we went to the restaurant. It should all be third person and objective in order to show a more professional style of reporting and journalistic work. Now, the way this class is basically formatted is that each week you will set up your profile on different social media platforms. We study about 2 platforms a week and start learning how to do research on those platforms and learning how to promote your work on those platforms. So we look at the social media both as being a promotional tool and being a research tool. So that's going to be our focus throughout the month. And also keep in mind that in week 3, you'll have to have an on-camera interview with an expert in the field that your capstone project focuses on. So this is something that you'll want to start considering now, thinking about who you might be able to interview in person and get them on camera so that you're not struggling in week 3 to find that person. If you can find them early and set up that interview early, it's going to make your life much easier in week 3. Any questions about any of that? Excellent, Albert, go ahead. You can either unmute yourself to ask questions or just type them into the chat box, whatever you're more comfortable with. Yes, you're welcome to type your questions into the chat box. Absolutely. And Albert, while you type, Brandon, if you have any questions as well, you're certainly welcome to type them in the chat box too. Thanks for letting me know you're all set, Brandon. I appreciate it. And Albert, I see that your question is in the 3rd week, you have to do an interview with an expert, and it can be hard to find an expert. So who should I interview? And your project is about Memphis Black restaurants. So then you'll want to interview an expert such as someone who's been successfully operating a restaurant for a decade or more in your area, a Black business owner who is in the Memphis area. So it could be any person there, which should give you a good number of choices. However, you can also interview people in restaurant associations, particularly leaders in like local restaurant associations, leaders in local Black community organizations can be helpful as well. And I'd also suggest looking to lawyers or accountants in the area who maybe have experience working with local restaurants that are owned by African Americans, because those are all people who can give you some perspective on the restaurant industry if they have clients that are restaurant owners. Does that answer your question, Albert? Albert, I'm glad that answers your question. This video is actually going to be posted on FSO for you to go back and watch. So I don't need to send you a list of all the people I just said, because you can always go back and watch this video whenever you'd like. It'll be posted on FSO later this evening for you. Okay, well, now that you've got a good overview of the course, let's go ahead and jump into the week 1 assignments. So for the week 1 discussion board, you do have your initial post due in the middle of the week. And what you need to do this week is you need to set up a Facebook page for your journalistic work if you haven't already. And in your initial discussion board post, you need to post the URL to that Facebook page. Then you need to set up a Twitter profile if you haven't already that's fairly professional and that promotes your journalistic work, and then post the URL to that Twitter profile. And then what you'll do is draft a social media post promoting your website or the specific article you're working on for this week. It's up to you, for each platform. So basically your initial post should look like a URL to a Facebook page and then a draft post for you promoting your website on your Facebook page, trying to direct traffic to your Facebook page. Then it should have a URL for your Twitter profile and a draft post of the tweet you would compose in order to promote traffic to your website through Twitter. Okay, now when you draft these Facebook page and Twitter profile posts, I want you to just rely on text. So no photos, no videos for these particular posts. And please be sure that you watch the tutorials on Facebook and Twitter that are provided with the week 1 tutorials, so that you know how many characters you should be using in each post, so that you see how many hashtags you should be using in each post, and so that you kind of get a sense of how to write calls to action and things to engage your audience. Any questions about the initial discussion board post that's to do in the middle of the week? Okay, seeing no questions, we'll go ahead and take a look at the response post that's due Sunday night. And in that response post, you only need to respond to one classmate. So you only need to make one response comment, but your comment does need to include 2 entirely separate suggestions for how your classmate could improve his or her social media profile or draft post. So for example, if you click on a classmate's social media profile, let's say their Facebook page, and you notice that they don't have a picture of themselves on there, maybe you'll suggest that they add a picture. Or maybe you notice in their draft post on Twitter, they didn't include any hashtags. Maybe you'll suggest 2 or 3 hashtags that they could use in their post. In total, though, you just want to make sure that your response post gives 2 completely separate suggestions for improving what your classmate mentioned in his or her initial post. And then here you have the discussion board rubric. Please do proofread carefully and use those references. So even if you're just citing to the tutorials for this week, that's completely fine, but I do want to see that you're taking material from the outside world, such as the tutorials that are assigned for this week or the assigned readings for this week, and utilizing that in your posts and or your analysis of your classmates' post. Also, I should remind you that I am a lawyer. I do a lot of contract work, so writing skills are super important. You know, little things like a comma being misplaced is something that maybe a lot of people wouldn't notice, but given my line of work, it does tend to jump off the page at me. So please proofread very carefully. Any questions about the discussion board assignment for this? Albert, go ahead and type your question if you want, or unmute yourself to ask your question. So your question, Albert, is whether I suggest a specific program or app to correct grammar or spelling sources. And to be perfectly honest with you, there are lots of good free resources out there. Even just writing your posts in Microsoft Word and turning on like the formal and highest levels of grammar and spelling check, and then copying from Microsoft Word into the discussion board on FSO can be helpful. But to be perfectly honest with you, no computer program is going to be 100% right. English is a super complicated language that at times doesn't make much sense for some of the rules for an algorithm to be reading. So my most effective tip for you is to make an appointment with the Full Sail Writing Center so that you can have a real human look over your writing and give you advice on correcting any grammar or spelling errors. That's something that you can actually do this week. You can look at the course at a glance, see when every assignment is due, and make appointments for the entire month so that you can, you know, on a Tuesday evening, or sorry, a Wednesday afternoon even, have them review your initial discussion board post. And then on a Friday afternoon, have them review your response post and have them review your publication for the week. Even if your publication isn't finalized, just having them review portions of it can be helpful. So that would be my biggest tip for you. Just make appointments for the month with the Writing Center, you know, tomorrow, so that you have them in place and can go ahead and get that taken care of. Excellent. Well, let's go ahead and turn our attention to the article that you have to write on your website for this week. And in this class, if you're writing an article for your website, then I call it a publication because you're publishing it to your website. So this week you get to select the topic. You can do anything related to your capstone project. So you have a ton of flexibility there. And when you're writing your article, you just need to include 2 social media sources in your article. So basically, you know how you write articles that have hyperlinks throughout them? Well, at least 2 of those hyperlinks have to go to social media sources. One has to go to a Facebook source and the other has to go to a Twitter source. So those could be posts that people have made on either social media platform, or they could be people's profiles if you mention individuals, or they could be the business page or business profile for an organization if you mention a certain business or organization. It's up to you, but you want to make sure that you're linking to the actual social media articles, not just online articles that you found through social media. Is that clear, the difference between those 2 concepts? Basically, when I click on the hyperlink you provide in your article, I want to be taken to facebook.com/Christy Foley's profile. I don't want to be taken to an article that you found via Facebook. Everyone's okay with that? Excellent. Thank you so much for letting me know you're good with that. Now, your article does have to be at least 400 words, and you'll want to start it with a headline. And like I mentioned earlier, you'll need to write from an objective perspective, and you'll need to promote your article on both Facebook and Twitter. So basically, I want you to think about the discussion board as an opportunity to prepare your promotional post. Because on Wednesday, you have to craft a promotional post to promote your website. Well, if you have an idea what your article is going to be about, your promotional post could specifically promote that newest article. And this way, when you go to promote it on Sunday night, you'll be able to look at feedback from your classmates, tweak your post a little, make it as effective as possible, and then promote it. So hopefully your Facebook and post and your tweet will drive as much traffic as possible to your website for this new article that you're writing and that's due on Sunday evening. And Albert, I see you have a question. Go ahead and type that into the chat box for me or unmute yourself to ask it. Okay, so your question is about the sources that you need, whether you need a post from either Facebook or Twitter, or whether you need a profile from one of those platforms. And the answer is that you can do either. So for all I care, you could do 2 profiles or 2 posts, or you could do 1 post and 1 profile. I don't care as long as you direct me to Facebook at least once and Twitter at least once. Hopefully that makes life a little easier on you. But basically, I want you to start getting used to using Facebook and Twitter as research tools, because as a journalist, we use this all the time. You know, there may be a story about a crime in your neighborhood, or even a new business opening, like a new restaurant, and you want to look up the business's owner, or you want to see who the suspect is in a crime. You will go to Facebook or Twitter and see if you can pull a picture of that person. As a working journalist, those are great research tools. You'll see if there are some public tweets that you can go ahead and pull to kind of get insight into that person, or get the latest updates on that organization and when that business might be opening, or some of the latest promotions that business is doing. So the purpose of this assignment is to get you looking at these social media sources as a research tool. And then after you write your article using them as a research tool, also use those social media sources as promotional tools by promoting your article on each platform to help drive traffic to your website and start increasing your following. So if you are writing about a local business that's opening or running a special promotion, you may want to tag them in your social media promotion so that you can grab their followers and have them see your post and direct them to your website as well. That can really help to build up your profile too. And then your rubric for this particular assignment, you've got the social media elements, which include both those in your article and your promotional social media comments. You've got the technical aspects of making sure that you have the required hyperlinks and everything like that in your story. Overall journalism and structure is also something that you're graded on, and then spelling and grammar as well, like we've talked about. Okay, any other questions about that assignment? Okay, seeing no, and turn my attention to your last assignment of the week, which is actually your easiest. So your publication is due Sunday night, and so is your professionalism agreement. So under the list of assignments on SO, professionalism agreement, and what I want you to do is just review it, type your name in the signature block, and then re-upload it to FSO by Sunday evening, just letting me know that you will abide by the professionalism agreement. Honestly, everyone starts the class with a GPS of 100%, and I will not deduct any GPS points unless one of two things happens. One, you miss an assignment deadline, or two, you do something really unprofessional during the class. Those are the only two reasons I deduct professionalism points. So as long as you turn this agreement in on time, I'll go in, I'll give you 100%, and I won't touch that number ever again. Really simple. It just asks you, to review the full sale and NMJMA policies to, say that you'll be professional throughout the month. Any questions about that, though? Albert, thanks for already taking care of that professionalism agreement. Okay, well, if you do have any questions at all throughout the week, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Anything I can do to help you. I am very much one of those teachers who's of the mindset that if you have a question, even if you think it's a stupid question, I don't think there's such a thing as a stupid question. So feel free to ask me. I was usually one of those students who had a question, thought it was a stupid question, and refrained from asking it because I didn't want to be embarrassed or bother the teacher with something stupid. And I learned somewhere around college that, you know what, the teachers there to help me. And if it's a question that I have weighing on my mind, stressing me out, and to me, if I can help you stress less, then it's not a stupid question. So I always want you to ask me. So please email me, message me on FSO, give me a call. I don't text, but I do call. So feel free to give me a call if there's anything at all throughout the week or the whole month, really, that I can help you with. And besides that, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me at this GoToMeeting session. I really appreciate it. And I hope you have a terrific evening.